Jo Swinson, you have changed the Liberal Democrat position on Brexit from a people's vote to revoking. Do you worry that overturning the result of that 2016 referendum will, to quote Norman Lamb, leave half the country angry and the social contract in this country broken?
To be clear, our policy is still that a people's vote is the best way to get out of this Brexit impasse, that we should put a specific Brexit proposal to the people to have the final say. And we've argued for that for 3.5 years, and we will continue to argue for that. But in the circumstances which can arise where we find ourselves in a general election that might be the last chance for the public to have their say on Brexit, as a party that strongly believes in our place in the European Union, that that is our best future, that we should stop Brexit, we have to give the people that clear choice and say that a Liberal Democrat majority government would stop Brexit by revoking Article 50.
And are you using that position because deep down you don't think you'll ever have to get to the point where you will try to revoke Article 50, or would you genuinely like to do that if you won a general election?
I would love to do that, Beth. I think Brexit is catastrophic for our country now and for generations to come. I think our place in the European Union is where we have influence. It's how we secure our prosperity and trade with countries where we don't feel we have to compromise our values to reach those accommodations and deals. It's how we tackle the big challenges that we face, whether that's international terrorism or the climate emergency. We need to work with other countries to do that. So I want to keep us in the EU, and I want to build a liberal society that is open, fair and inclusive. So absolutely, I want to win a majority and be Prime Minister and stop Brexit.
There is a legitimacy question in all of this. Let's just say that the Liberal Democrats won a majority at the next election. Let's just put that out there as an idea. In 2015, David Cameron won a general election. He won 37% of the popular vote. He won 11 million votes from the public, and that gave him, you could argue, a mandate. If you won, you would be prepared to win on that level of votes perhaps, but overturn 17.4 million votes in a referendum. It's anti-democratic, Jo Swinson.
Well, I think if we win a majority in Parliament...
You'll ignore the 17.4 million?
If we win a majority in Parliament on the very clear position of stopping Brexit, then that will be a mandate to do that. Now, I want to change our voting system. Beth, you know that. I think that we should have a different voting system.
But let's just go back to the
principle of this.
This
is the system that we have. And incidentally, it's a system that does not make it easy for third parties to break through. And so if we are able to achieve that, which I do believe is possible because of the strength of feeling on these issues in the country, if we do that, then I think people will expect us to fulfil what we've said we would do in that election campaign.
But do you accept the 17.4 million people who voted to leave the EU in 2016, that you coming in and saying, I'm now going to overturn the result of that referendum? That is anti-democratic. There's no other way of cutting it.
I fundamentally disagree. Democracy did not end on the 23rd of June 2016. I've spoken to plenty of people who have changed their mind since that time. There are plenty of people who did not have a say in that referendum and who are now able to vote, who are in our society, who are adults and part of our community. So, you know, it's not as if that is set in aspect forever.
But Jo Swinson, there are also 17.4 million people that did have their say, that voted to leave. Over 3 years later, we still haven't left. And now you are saying, actually, I'm going to revoke. I'm not going to do it at all. I mean, and then you say you're a Liberal Democrat. You're a Democrat. That's anti-democratic.
No, it's about giving people the choice. I'm standing up for my position, for my party's position of what we believe in, what we think is the best future for the country, and then letting the public choose. And I'll happily have a discussion about how we change our voting system to make it fairer. That is another passion of mine, because I think we need to reform our politics in a whole host of ways. Our country needs significant change and reform more broadly. And the first step has to be protecting our place in the European Union, because that is how we can protect jobs, how we can protect our public services, and how we can protect our international influence and security.
But Jo Swinson, going back to what Norman Lamb said about people being angry, this is actually the politics of division, isn't it? You are like an iteration of Nigel Farage on the other end of the spectrum. He is the Brexit party, and you are turning the Liberal Democrats into the non-Brexit, stop Brexit party. You are as extreme as him, just on the other side of the debate, and I think that could turn a lot of voters off.
Well, I fundamentally disagree. I fundamentally disagree. We are clear on our position on European Union membership. But I respect the views of people who take a different view. I recognise they hold those in genuine good faith. And perhaps most importantly, I believe that every single person in our country is valuable and should be respected and have equality. And Nigel Farage is prepared to stand in front of a breaking point poster that is designed to stoke fear and hatred and division in our communities. And what we are proposing in terms of an inclusive, fair and liberal society is fundamentally different to that.
You're proposing to overturn the result of a popular vote because you didn't like how it went. That's what you're proposing.
We are proposing to give people the choice, ideally in a people's vote on a specific Brexit deal, which we have argued for. And if that is not possible, to give people the choice in a general election.
So you would prefer to leave and have a referendum on a deal than actual revocation?
I would prefer to have a referendum on a specific Brexit deal that gives people the chance to choose, this is what Brexit looks like, do you want to go ahead with that, or do you prefer...
So why add revoking to manifesto policy
Because
then?
It may be that this general election, after 3.5 years of Brexit impasse, is the last chance that people have. And the logical extension of the point that you're putting to me is that there should be no option for people in such a general election to be able to choose to stop Brexit. And I disagree. I mean, if a democracy cannot change its mind, it ceases to be a democracy. And it's not me that said that first, it was David Davis, a leading Brexiteer.
Well, hang on a minute. You're happy that the 2014 Scottish referendum vote stands because you liked it, and Scotland voted to remain part of the United Kingdom, but you're not happy that the 2016 Brexit referendum vote stands because it didn't go the Liberal Democrats' way. That seems really undemocratic to me.
It's actually a very consistent position that we think that we are better working with other countries. We are better working with our closest neighbours to solve our shared problems. And it is the same argument for Scotland being part of the UK family of nations as for the UK working within the European Union, where we can better address the challenges that we face. And what we have right now is a situation of chaos. We have jobs being lost, we have uncertainty. We need a way out of that. I think the best way out is a people's vote. But in a general election, then I will argue that we should stop Brexit altogether.
OK, just a couple more things, Jo Swinson. Just in terms of a general election, it could be that the Liberal Democrats are the power broker after a general election. Does revoking Article 50 become a red line for you in a supply and confidence deal? I mean, what should voters expect that you would make conditions for perhaps propping up another Prime Minister?
Well, I don't think we should second guess the electorate. This is a decision that they get to make about how they choose to vote. And there is no reason to assume that there has to be a scenario where either Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn has to be Prime Minister. Neither of those men is fit to be Prime Minister, and I will not vote to make either of those men Prime Minister.
But you can understand why people would be nervous because, and this is old ground, I know people have asked you about this today, but of course back in 2010 there was the issue about tuition fees, and you said that you wouldn't charge tuition fees, and then in coalition government the Liberal Democrats reversed that decision, and then there was a big breakdown of trust between your voters and all of you as politicians. So just to be clear, is revocation a red line? I mean, is that what you would be in terms of government?
I'll be very clear about our policy. We are saying that if there is a Liberal Democrat majority government, we will revoke Article 50. We're a party that wants to stop Brexit, and we will work with other people, as we have been in the People's Vote campaign. We have been working with all sorts of different parties and individuals to pursue that aim. And if we do not secure a majority Lib Dem government, we will still be working to stop Brexit for example, through the mechanism of a people's vote. Of course we will continue to do that. But Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn are not fit to be Prime Minister, and our country deserves an alternative, credible choice. That is the Liberal Democrats under my leadership.
And just finally, Jo Swinson, Sam Gyimah joined you this weekend. Have you had more conversations with other MPs that are feeling politically homeless in Westminster since Saturday?
Well, yes, I'm having conversations with other members of Parliament. You know, in Labour and the Conservatives, there's a lot of unhappy MPs who feel that their parties have deserted them. People are looking at the Lib Dem conference where Sam and Chuka and Luciana are receiving such a warm welcome. They say they feel at home, that it is the right decision, and I think there's other MPs that are looking at that with a great deal of interest.
Are you going to be pulling someone out of your hat this week?
Many of these things take time, but I'm certainly optimistic that the Liberal Democrats will continue to grow.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.